Hello, welcome to Triggered Care. I'm Alex. Today's video is going to be about communication and why sometimes it's really hard to communicate feelings, specifically mad and sad feelings. So let us get into it. So, expressing your feelings. Why it's hard to talk about your sad feelings, why it's hard to talk about your mad feelings. I'm going off of my personal experiences here, so maybe you can relate to them. And then I'm going to share ways I power through those thoughts that inhibit communication. So feeling sad or mad can make me feel manipulative sometimes. Makes me think like I'm not really sad, I'm just trying to get attention. Which that reaction comes from years of repression and constant verbal abuse. So like growing up, if I mentioned negative feelings, I wasn't validated. Instead, I would get a talking to about how I don't have the right to complain, because of course my mother had always gone through something worse than what I was talking about, so why should I be able to complain about it? The first example of this that I can think of was when I was real little, probably around 5 or 6. I used to get this leg pain all the time, like really bad leg pains. And I would try to tell my mother about this. I would go up to her and I'd be like, hey, my legs hurt, And she would tell me that I'm lying to her and that I'm trying to get out of whatever I was supposed to do that day for chores. I was never taken seriously. I was told I was a liar. And since I was a little kid, I believed her. And what it actually made me believe was that I couldn't trust my own feeling. I couldn't trust my own judgment, that she would know more about me than I would. And that is a really dangerous thing to put into a kid's head, because that bleeds into the cultish mindset of you trust somebody else more than you trust yourself. And she'd always be saying, you don't know what pain is, you don't know what sad is, you don't know what bad is. Driving home that I don't know anything and that she would know better than me. And it conditioned me to not share emotions that would make her lash out like that. It conditioned me to keep my sadness to myself. It conditioned me to keep my anger to myself, because there was this belief that I don't deserve to express that since I don't meet the requirements for it. And that thinking pattern cements into your brain. So every time you are mad or sad, even as an adult, I still struggle with this, where if I'm feeling sad or mad, I'll feel like if I talk about it, I'm just manipulating people. I'm just making people feel sad, or I'm just making people feel bad for me, even though I hate it when people feel bad for me, and so that will really stifle my ability to communicate with my loved ones, because then I try to internalize it and repress it, like it's not that big of a deal, when that in the long run will hurt me a lot more, because I'll feel disconnected and I'll feel isolated, because I put this big wall up of you can't share your pain, because it's not real pain. You're just imagining it for attention or whatever it is, when that's not really the case. I really am in pain, but I've been conditioned so much to believe that my pain isn't real, because it did not get the validation when I was younger, and I was taught that that wasn't really pain, that was a manipulation. So here are 5 tips that I have for overcoming that doubt that inhibits good communication. The first one is self-love exercises. And you can see this in how to take care of your inner child tips video that I have. A lot of those are self-love exercises. You have to get to know yourself. You have to love yourself in order to really cultivate a good self monologue. That's your voice alone. That's not echoing what your abusers told you in the past. Next, I try to look at the situation differently. So for me, what I'll imagine is, what if my friend came to me with these same feelings, these same issues, these same problems? Would I be apathetic towards it and be like, well, who cares? You don't know what pain is? Or would I be empathetic towards it and be like, oh my gosh, that's a lot to go through? How can I help? How can I alleviate these sad, mad feelings? Or can I just listen to help you sort it out in your head? And I think I would very much do the latter. If my friends came to me and said, I've been feeling sad about this or this or this, pretty much no matter what it is, I'm going to validate them and be like, that is sad. That is worth the energy to talk about and to work through, because I love my friends. And so just learning how to turn that love around towards yourself is really important. Next is just combating those negative voices in your head, especially the voices that echo your abusers. And I've talked about this a couple times, fighting that negative voice, fighting that angry voice, finding your own voice to stand up for yourself, even to yourself, because Lord knows we like to bully ourselves, and not that we like it, but we are so conditioned to do it that it's really hard to come out of. Next, realizing your feelings are important. Being sad or mad isn't a manipulation, it's natural. It is natural to be a survivor and to have a lot of unresolved sad and mad feelings. And sometimes, I'll get mad about something silly. One of my silly mad things that I always get mad about is when I'm looking for something, I can't find it right away. And, a lot of times when that happens, I get mad at myself for being so mad at something so small. But then, usually there's other feelings underneath that, but that's just the trigger that makes me upset enough to actually have symptoms like crying and rocking back and forth and all that stuff. So just giving yourself the right validation and giving yourself room to explore those sad feelings when you never really got a chance to explore them in the first place. You need to explore them. You need to figure out ways to handle your sadness and your madness, that don't involve just repressing everything and not talking about it, because that's very unhealthy and it causes a lot more problems than it solves. And then for my last tip is practicing I statements. And if you don't know what this is, it's just, I feel blank when blank happens. And you can use this I use this for my husband. Like if we're in an argument, or if something happened, if he did something that upset me, I'll be like, I feel sad when you use that tone of voice with me, right? Because sometimes he gets angry, sometimes he gets frustrated. And even though it's not that I'm mad at him per se, just his tone of voice is triggering me, that's still something I need to communicate with him. And when you start off a sentence with I feel, you're taking responsibility for that feeling, but you're also letting them know what is triggering that feeling. And they don't have to beat themselves up over it. They can return with their own I feel statements, and then you guys can figure out, okay, what's going on here? Why is there frustration? Why is there miscommunication? And it's a lot easier to do when you're not hiding what you're feeling, when you're not trying to repress the sadness that you have and the anger that you have, because then they know where you're coming from. And a lot of times It's just simply a triggering that went wrong. Of, oh, they accidentally triggered this in an argument about this, or the situation that we're in is really reminiscent of this other situation where it ended up terribly for me. So opening up those lines of communication in a very respectful way will definitely help a lot. And it sounds corny and it sounds cheesy to believe, like, oh, I feel sad because of this and this and this. Like, it's not a natural way of conversation. Not at first, at least. But I'll tell you what, the more I practice it, the better I feel about it. Where it's a lot easier for me now to tell my husband I'm feeling mad. And even if it's not about him, just I'm feeling mad about this situation that I find myself in. It helps you think about it. It helps you sort it out in your mind versus letting it spin around in your brain, unprocessed, untalked about, because that will just cause more issues down the line. So, that is this video for today. All the links for all the cool stuff is down below. Join our Discord. You can join the CPTSD Discord. That Discord's really awesome too. There's a Facebook link, the email, all that stuff. And I hope you have a good one.